Okay, so I just got this notification about this tweet. I'm not sure why I just got it 5 minutes ago, but I did. I was fired as a pastor on Sunday. Yes, I was fired last year on Lord's Day 2. Baptists are big on works of necessity, like muzzling an ox in the ditch. Okay. In the past 5 years as a pastor, I've been fired from 3 churches. I resigned from a fourth and missed calls for my termination. In every case, I was fired for upsetting the church ladies, often of both sexes. Time and again, these ladies have pressed their husbands, deacons, and the elders to put me under discipline, to force me into a struggle section where I must apologize for offending them, grovel for a second chance, and agree to kinds of restrictions on what I can say and do. Once I refuse these sinful, controlling demands, they inevitably demand my head on a platter, and the church ladies always get what they want. I'll be honest, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised to see this. What I am surprised is actually that we don't see this more often. But actually, probably the reason we don't see this more often is not because it's not happening to pastors, but because those pastors are, one, submitting to the church ladies and the demands or whatever to keep their job, or two, uh, just too afraid to talk about it. But typically, I would think that if a guy's too afraid to talk about it, he probably isn't getting fired over it. So, yeah, it's probably just the first. I'm seeing a lot of solid discussion right now addressing the epidemic of cucked church leaders who put good men under church discipline for fake sin, while ignoring the real sins of women, all in an effort to keep the church ladies happy. As a pastor, I represent the other side of this equation. What we must understand is that at present there is virtually no place in evangelicalism for any uncucked man, whether he be a pastor or a parishioner. I can just about count on my 20 fingers and toes. This man has 20 fingers and 20 toes. The number of exceptions that I'm personally familiar with. Okay. Regarding my most recent pastorate, which began in January, I was opposed from 1 week by one elder and his wife. They voted for me to come and then turned around and passively aggressively protested me for 6 straight months on account of reading some internet slander about me. They did invite us into their home once in 6 months. We had them in our home multiple times. They treated my wife like she had leprosy. Huh? And wouldn't even look at me while I preached. When I confronted him, he denied having any issue. When I confronted him a second time, he slandered me to the entire church and destroyed my reputation before he left. Wait, what happened though? Like, just because he saw something on the internet about you? Others left with him, and he left me to preach to scowls of frowns for the past 4 months. He slandered me around town too, to the point where that I was even denied pulpit supply by a sister church up the street. The reigning elder was in my corner. Often I offended his wife. Oh, until I offended his wife. She had a nasty habit of rudely interrupting her husband and angrily correcting him in public. One occasion, he and I were discussing a matter when she barged in uninvited to cut him off mid sentence. Rather than redirect my attention to her, I kept my attention on my co elder, waiting for him to finish his thoughts. I wasn't rude about it, just principled. I showed him the due respect his own wife refused to show him. She became irate, and a week later, he demanded I apologize to his wife because they're my parents' age. I offered an explanation and gentle correction, but no apology. I thought the matter was closed. Little did I know I was simmering in both their hearts for several months. See, the thing is, you let this run on for too long, and then there's no reeling it back in. You let them have their authority. You let them have um, their short-haired little gathering. You know, um, you know, you let them have their way with you, and you can't. They can't fathom. Um, not having that control any longer. I saw a funny I saw a funny tweet the other day. Let's see if I can find it. It was a meme actually. Oh, I like so much stuff on X. But did I like this post? Yes. Yes. So anyway, fast forward 2 weeks ago, another church lady discovered I had invited a small group of 3 men to my house as a personal outreach where we would enjoy some beer and cigars while talking shop, discipleship. This was not a church event. It was not promoted at the church website or Facebook page. It was something I was doing in my own time, my own dime, and with other elders' permission. In fact, he expressly asked me to keep it separate from the church, which I did. This disgruntled elder and his wife seized on this moment, calling an urgent members' meeting where all the church ladies come together to voice their concerns. Wait, hold on. They just invite. It was just they. It was just all the women, all the ladies. Okay, why were no women invited? Was this an anti-female meeting? Who gave you permission to have this men's meeting in your home? You can't have beer and cigars in a pastor. It's church in the parsonage. It's church property. A lot of trouble could have been saved, time and effort. Um, if the women who came together to voice their concerns um, would have just thought about these questions beforehand. I mean, this question would have been answered immediately after you decided you were going to ask this question and this question and absolutely this question. Like, Why weren't women invited? Cases 1, 2, and 3. I mean, like what? Like, hello? And I highly doubt they were interested in beer and cigars, especially on the parsonage since it's church property. The other elder knew I enjoyed the occasional beer and cigar and had no issue with it. He and his wife drank wine routinely. Rather than defend me and help me keep my job, he's vindicated, vindictive elder. This vindictive elder and his wife used this proxy issue to turn the entire church against me and get me fired. They've given us 30 days to vacate the parsonage while taking away the income we need to qualify for renting or buying a home. Not being content to take away our income and housing, they went after our marriage as well. Days before I was fired, this elder's wife sent my wife a long text message which slandered me and sought to convince my wife she's an abuser. Like, are you serious right now? Is this real? I don't use the word lightly, but my wife is genuinely traumatized. She is heartbroken. She's been battling cancer and chronic illness. The stress of being kicked to the curb again by church family has triggered a serious case of shingles in her face. What? Neck and head. Please pray that it doesn't spread to her eyes, which can cause blindness. For 10 months straight. Okay, all this because of something these elders read on the internet? Some mean slander? For 10 months straight, I tried everything to revitalize this declining church, neighborhood visitation, social media ads, singles, mixers, fellowship, meals, branding, news signs, etc. I didn't miss a single Sunday in the pulpit, including while my wife spent a week in the hospital for a difficult surgery. The one thing that got any traction was reaching out to men with a vision for an uncucked church. It turns out that was the one thing that I wasn't allowed to do. So, okay, what he didn't explain exactly. In a couple of weeks of spreading the word, I had about 15 men interested in participating in my men's fellowship. I sold a shotgun to pay for the beer and cigars this past Sunday. Two of those men called me to say they were bringing their families to join us for the Sunday worship. Sadly, I had to tell them that my church was voting to fire me on Sunday. So instead, we all went together to a different church where God's word and not the church ladies reigns supreme. Wow. Naturally, there's a lot more to this saga. I intend to give full account of everything that transpired, but first I've got to go find a place to live and start earning an income. Oh my gosh, bro. Yeah, and there's no Social Security or unemployment for pastors. I'm pretty sure, right? I have made a vow to my wife that I will never again be dependent on a paycheck from a church that is controlled by the simple passions of unruly women. By my estimate, that's most churches. I want to issue a call to young men today: do not give your strength to churches ruled over by cucked men and clucking hens. They will despise you for your strength and seek to castrate you. If you refuse to play ball, they'll come for reputation, your marriage, and family. Find a godly church with godly pastors who have proven to be unflinching in the face of feminism. And that's changed the game. Sasquatch says, hear me out. You might in fact need to take a harder look at yourself. Okay. Okay. Of course. The fact that you are having this problem time and time again speaks volumes, especially when the majority of pastors aren't experiencing the same problems 4 times. Christian conservative Sasquatch. Are you? Are you conservative? I'm not even sure if you're Sasquatch. Tell that the Apostle Paul, who was stoned in nearly every town he preached, and the majority of pastors never preached a single faithful sermon on the rampant sins of women, so I could care less about the majority of preachers. The real answer is tent making. It is keep a second job to subsidize a pastor's salary. Yeah. Pastor who depends 100% on the church salary will always be subject to clucking hands. Agreed. It took me a while to find some flexible enough to allow. Yeah. that is true, but it's a very sad reality, right? Um, I mean, that's actually good advice. Thankfully, I found something very reasonable. It's going to work and training as we speak. He found a job. Okay, praise the Lord. First thought when reading this, man, 4 or 5 churches. I don't know this guy, but it sounds like you might need to take a look inward, and then read the comments and your tone. Sorry for me. I'd encourage you to consider. Thanks for chiming in. Bro, there's like a dove, or there's like an owl right outside my window. In the tree. An owl in the tree right by my window. Rigney's right. Good leadership gets you fired. Is this gonna bright screen me? You guys hear that? Oh, wait, this is the guy that got fired. Wait, is this the guy? Yeah. Um, that's crazy. That is crazy. The arson sharing about the being fired. The pastor have gained many new followers, received like 24 DMs plus text message phone calls from good men sharing some dreadful stories. Many brothers and sisters have reached out with encouragement and prayer. Very grateful for you. I've written extensively about the past several years in ministry and all that my sweet wife and I have been through. For those interested, I invite you to read my blog. I'm also 3/4 of the way through a book, The Rabbit Hole of Feminism and Sexual Revolution, Strong Action. I plan to make Kindle version free for a period after it's published. If you'd like a heads up on that, I invite you to subscribe to my blog where I will announce it. You know, I would say it's quite convenient that he happens to be writing a book on this issue that he's being fired for. But if the man's been fired for the same issue 3 or 4 times already, he's probably been writing this book before this time. He would probably. So it's tempting to call this a Driscoll move here, a Driscoll play, but yeah. I'm actually kind of curious what his sermons were that got him. Founder of helpmeetsingles.com. Huh? It's like a Christian dating website. bro. It, I just I I know this is a Christian website, but I mean, are you actually are you a real? Sorry, I just all these photos kind of look AI. What are these? Why do these all look like stock photos? Are these real? Is this actually real people? Like I'm just saying, is this just part of their advertisement? Like are these actual people that are looking for? Anyway, um, is this the blog? Okay, so he's definitely you know he's a Wilson fan. Okay, he's definitely a Wilson fan, and hmm, that probably doesn't go over well. I mean, you probably want to be in a CREC, but yeah, I mean, this guy looks like he's. I guess maybe he's in his late 30s or 40s, right? At least. Did he say he has kids? He didn't say he has kids. Uh wow. Yeah, I just got that notification. I thought, you know what? I'm gonna make a video about this because that is wild. Um, how do you know? Like, how do you know if you're in this situation, right? Like, how do you know if that's the situation your church is? Um, I mean, it's like you could say there's probably signs or something, but like the difference between like signs and like speculation, it seems so close. It seems like so hard to decipher, right? So I don't know. I think we need some resources or something on this, like how to know or like uh you know what to do. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there are resources out there. I don't know what they are. If you know, comment below. That's it. That's the video.